We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we gather, the Turrbal people of Yuggera land, as well as the Woiwurrung people of the Wurundjeri land. We recognise their continued connection to the land and waters of this beautiful place, and acknowledge that they never ceded sovereignty. We respect all Turrbal and Woiwurrung elders and ancestors, and any First Nations people here today.
I can't take it anymore!
Good afternoon, good evening, good day, and good morning, Blurtstars, wherever you are around the world. You are listening to the new Blurt.
You absolutely are listening to the new Blurt. Good evening to you. I am the Kegsta, host of the new Blurt, and tonight I'm coming to you from Wurundjeri country, the Kulin Nation of the Wurundjeri people. Sovereignty was never ceded, always has been, and always will be Aboriginal land. It's a fantastic night tonight because he ain't gone no more. Wencee is back, and he will have a bit of a chat with us later on in the show to let us know what he's been doing and where he's been. But before we do that, we've got absolutely heaps on the show. So on Blurt Around the World tonight, I'll have a quick chat about Eurovision and how bad the song is this year. And driving with a red-bellied snake, Wencee's going to talk about his experiences there. No, I'm not sure that's true, but he's going to talk about it anyway. And we're going to talk just a quick rundown on the budget tonight. Nothing particularly detailed, just a little bit of a headliner on it. And there's been a tornado in Bunbury. Now, I've got to be honest, I didn't know Australia got tornadoes, but there you go. Maybe West Australia knew they did and no one else did, or maybe they didn't. So surprise for everyone. And Trump Watch, if you've ever joined us before on a Tuesday evening at around about 8 p.m.-ish, we do Trump Watch and we talk about where Orange Head is in the States, where his 455,000 cases are, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so we'll keep a track on that. We've got science on tonight. Wencee's talking about the Aurora Australis the other night, which I found out was the Aurora Borealis as well. But he'll talk more about that. He's more sciencey than me. So, and I'll chat about Google and Harvard had got together and they've mapped the brain the first time. So there's a bit of analytics there. And then to round out the show, Wencee will give us some really good pickies on where he was and give us a bit of rundown on what he was doing, which I'm very much looking forward to. And I am going to chat before that on the bird flu in cows in America, because I'm sure that Wencee's nature calls will be far more interesting than mine. But before we do anything else, I absolutely love doing this. And I wasn't able to do it last week because he wasn't here, obviously. So I get to do it this week. So give me 2 seconds and I will be back because my computer says something weird. So I'm just sort of what they call pondering maybe in the biz. And here we go. Good evening, Wencee. I don't know, Wencee, if you can hear me, but you're muted and you muted yourself. And I can't unmute you.
Yes. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. It's usually you who mutes me. What a good start. I've been away 1 week and I've forgotten how to run this show.
It's exactly the same as when you get back to work. You've been away for a week. You're like, what did I used to do? Honestly.
Yeah. What's my password? The same password I've been using for the last 4 years.
Yeah.
Please don't use 4-year passwords, by the way. So before we start, I want to acknowledge the traditional owners on the land on which we meet today, the Yuggera and Turrbal people, and pay my respects to the elders past, present, and emerging. Yes, I am back and glad to be back. Part of this duo. I did watch you last week, by the way.
Oh, sorry, I apologize.
That's okay, because I couldn't really talk much because I was in a restaurant at the time. I was trying to time it so I could watch you because of the half-hour difference with Darwin and Melbourne. But so Darwin? Was Darwin? No, Adelaide. Sorry, it was Adelaide.
Yeah.
It was Adelaide. Yeah, so tried to time it better, but couldn't do it. I did get to hear a little bit of it, but you did a great job. So
Look, really appreciated, Wencee. It's far better, as I said in the show. It's far better when you're here. So it's fantastic that you are back. And just talking about that, when you were in Adelaide, mooching about, did you get to spend much time in Adelaide at all?
Did spend one night, so we didn't arrive until about midday into Adelaide from the Ghan train, which travelled from Darwin, and I will cover that later on in the
No,
show.
that's cool. No, I was just
But yeah, so we spent the afternoon at Adelaide Market, Central Market.
okay.
Had lunch there, had a nice beer and paella, and reminisced at the Adelaide Market, one of my favourite markets of Australia.
So have you spent a bit of time in Adelaide then?
Yeah, before the kids were born, Kim and I, my partner, we did a road trip from Melbourne along the Great Ocean Road, along that part of Victoria, along the coast. Got into South Australia, Coonawarra region, did wineries, got to McLaren Vale wineries, Barossa Valley wineries. So you're seeing a theme here. We went to Adelaide.
You're an alcoholic, yeah.
Recovering. Don't drink as much anymore. Although
None
the kids, I would have. No,
none of us do.
Mind you, the kids, no. Mine's clean today, so I've only got soft drink. But yeah, we spent a few days in Adelaide at the time, and I've been back for work and other short visits, but nowhere near as long as that time. But I do enjoy Adelaide. Yeah, really enjoy it. The food, the scene, the wine, and big craft beer these days. I wasn't into beers as much whenever it was 18, 20 years ago. Hence the winery tours. But yeah, it's a beautiful place. Lots to see. Love the architecture in Adelaide. They've kept a lot of the old buildings from the 18th century, so it's quite a very, very pretty city. Unlike Brisbane, which have lost a lot of their original buildings from the colonial times.
There's a fantastic movie that you can watch on YouTube, and I think it was in the Melbourne International Film Festival a couple of years ago, and it was all about the history of Melbourne's buildings.
Oh yeah,
because Melbourne's got some of the oldest buildings in Australia when it comes to cities wise, and it's interesting you talk about Adelaide because they'd probably be similar, but Melbourne would probably have more. But Melbourne had way more. But I think it was in the 70s and the 80s, they had, the wonderful ideas of just completely destroying all of our history. And there was so many fantastic Art Deco buildings, etc., that were out in the suburbs, like in Brunswick, and they still have a few of those really good, really cool buildings. But there were so many of them, but they destroyed so much of it. It was just, it was heartbreaking to watch. But the one thing that I do like, and exactly as you were just expressing, is, and many people don't do it because they're always looking at their phone, so they're always looking down. But if you actually walk around Melbourne and you look up, the architecture is just phenomenal. And I'm not talking about the modern stuff. I'm talking about the old stuff.
The old stuff, yeah.
Yeah, it's so much really good old stuff. But so many people, as I say, they look down rather than up. So you don't see anything
exactly.
at all. So.
All the bluestone alleyways, some of the buildings made out of bluestone. The cafe I owned in Brunswick Street, Fitzroy, had bluestone interior walls. It was just beautiful. Loved it. And whereas in Adelaide, it's more sandstone than bluestone.
Yeah.
So different architecture, different look, but still just as pretty.
And I think in New South Wales, I think their buildings, I think, are limestone.
Oh, there you go.
Instead of bluestone, as you say, every area has its sort of architectural source. So, so it is interesting. But no, that's pretty cool. So we will definitely talk more about that as we get to the end of the show. But the start of the show. So therefore, we've got Blurt Around the World.
What's happening around the world this week, Kegsta?
Mate, there is so much happening around the world.
Blurt around the world. Around the world. Around the world.
Is ridiculous. One of the, well, this one's a homegrown one, but this is about the tornado that was in
Around the world. Around the world. Around the world.
Was in Bunbury. So on May the 10th, what are we, 14th? So a few days ago in Western Australia, there was a tornado that left at least 40 homes damaged and resulted in power outages for over 1,000 residents.
Wow.
That is a lot.
That's a lot. Yeah.
Which are expected to last until Sunday afternoon. The storm was particularly devastating for some families, such as one that was already struggling with medical issues, further compounding their difficulties. Authorities have issued warnings about hazardous materials due to the tornado's impact, and efforts are ongoing to restore the normalcy. Emergency services are working to assess the full extent of the damage and provide necessary support to those affected. So yeah, so it was pretty big. It was pretty fierce. So,
Yeah, it was the and it's asbestos that they're concerned about with the damage.
Yeah.
Some residents aren't allowed to go back in until that's all been assessed.
Yeah, that would make
that's
a
bit frightening.
No, go for it. Yeah, no, and that would make a lot of sense too, because as we both know, there's heaps of properties that are sort of 70s, 80s, 60s that have lots of asbestos, and if you're getting a tornado and ripping those things up, yeah, that's a pretty scary situation.
Yeah, sure is.
Better
be safe than sorry.
No, go for it. Go for it.
No, it's just going to say better safe than sorry.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Make sure that's all cleaned up. Yep.
Yeah.
Over to you.
No, absolutely, 100% agree with that. Something else that, you can be sorry for. I don't know about the safe bit. Eurovision 2024 was just on just recently.
Oh yeah. that old thing.
Yeah, that old thing. And I love Eurovision as much as the next person. And that is if the next person, that's right, that is if the next person hates Eurovision. Now, I don't hate Eurovision. In fact, I would be up for watching it one night with a lot of alcohol. And
I was going to say, I think that the only time you could really watch that is if you're watching it in a group of people and you're either stoned or drinking, or both. Not that I condone drug taking.
Between you and I think that's probably what the two winners of the last years were doing anyway. Before they were performing and after they were performing. There's just no doubt about it in my mind at all. And when you have a listen to this, because I've got a lovely little snippet, you'll go, yep, no, you're right, Kegsta. You're 100% correct. So, right, Switzerland's Nemo, because they've always got awesome names. Like they're just the most practical name in the world. Nemo, just keep swimming, wins Eurovision Song Contest 2024 with their song The Code in Malmö, Sweden. And there was actually a lot of controversy about this year's Eurovision as well because of the Israeli side. Yeah, yes. Absolutely. They've been getting massive marches all across Europe on the Palestinian side of things there. And probably rightly so. And there's actually a lot of people that that are Jewish, but they actually believe in the Palestinian cause because it's not a Hamas Israel thing. It's a Palestinian whoever lives in Gaza thing, you know. So yeah, it's a pretty horrible situation. But anyway, and I suppose the whole idea about Eurovision is meant to sort of try to bring people together. But I know that it is always political, and sometimes they can
eventually does.
Because I think last year they banned Russia because of Ukraine. I think that's right.
I think the last two Eurovisions. I'm not sure about this year, but I'm assuming Russia is still banned from it.
So, as I was saying before, I mean, they have these very, very practical names of their contestants. And this year, as I said, was Nemo. Last year was Loreen. I mean, that sounds a little bit better, I suppose, but it could be a bit bogan as in, oh, Loreen. But She handed Nemo the iconic crystal trophy before the Swiss artist performed their song. Well, he calls it a song. I was listening to it before. I find it very hard to call it a song. It was a nail-biting finish as Croatia's, you're going to love this, as Croatia's Baby Lasagna came second. That is his real name, or
Baby
her real
lasagna.
name. Baby Lasagna. I don't even. Came second, while Ukraine, France, and Tossed Custard, no, that's not his name, and Israel trailed close behind. But it might as well be. I mean, seriously to God. And I do have a little bit of a snippet of Nemo doing his thing. And, yeah, interesting. So enjoy when I
Enlighten
actually get
me,
it up
please.
there. Yes, I will. Just, yeah, enjoy.
I haven't seen
this.
anything of Eurovision this year.
Welcome to the show, let everybody know.
We'll turn that up.
I'll break out of the chains, you better buckle up. I'll pour another cup. This is my boy, so drink it up, my friend.
So far, I love it.
This story is I went to hell and back to find myself on track. I broke the code.
That line should have been on crack.
Oh, like the night, I just gave it some time. Now I found paradise. I broke the code. Yeah.
No, we're not having any more of that on this show.
I can see how that can be a little bit entertaining. I think the quirkiness and it's a little bit appealing, I must admit, from that short grab that I've just listened to. It's the first time I've listened to it, by the way.
I'm very glad that appealed to you. That's good to know. That's very good. I'll remember that next time. But I don't think Baby Lasagna was very happy coming second. So, you know.
No, had a bit of a hissy fit.
I think so. Threw the meatballs out. It was just honestly. Yeah, so that's Eurovision for you, 2024. But some other stuff that's happening. Someone was driving with a red-bellied snake. Hopefully not down their pants. That just sounds ridiculous. But
No. Well, yes and no. So, Lisa from Newcastle. For anyone listening from around outside of Australia, Newcastle is on the east coast of New South Wales. I always forget whether it's north or south of Sydney, but it's close to Sydney, probably a couple of hours drive from Sydney. Lisa discovered a red-bellied snake, one of the most venomous snakes we've got here in Australia, in the car while she was driving.
They're not that aggressive though. They're not like browns and tigers.
No, exactly. So that's in her favour.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's tried several times, 4 times in fact, with snake catchers to try to get the snake out of the car, and they just haven't been able to extricate it from the vehicle.
It's the car.
Oh, it's amazing how they get hidden, or they can hide in the nooks and crannies. It could be in the seat, could be the back of the seat, could be in the engine. So
wow.
she's she's decided to give it a name, and the name she's called it is Fluffy. A very cute name for a very ominous and dangerous reptile.
Yes.
So she's got a bit of humour, which is great. So she believes it's been in the car for at least 4 weeks since March. So what's that? 6 weeks at least.
Yeah.
And so one snake catcher was close, had it in its grips, and the slippery little sucker escaped and remains in the car. She's taken because she needs the car for work, and she believes she picked up the passenger when she was doing some work out in the country, like outside of New South Wales at a mine, I think it was, mine area, and she's had left the door open, and the snakes decided to come in.
I was going to say the snake flagged her down, so he's on the side of the road, sort of going, "Yeah, come on."
How's it going to stick its thumb out? That's what I want
Good
to know.
question. Good question. Good question.
Or show a leg to attract the drivers.
Well, true. Very true.
Yeah, so that's where she suspects she's picked up the passenger, and she's taken on expert advice in that she now, because she needs the car for work and transport, it's her only form of transport. She is wearing woolen clothes all over her, gloves, everything, so that if the snake was to bite her, it'll get caught and the venom will go into the wool, as opposed to if it went through your regular clothes like denim,
Cotton or
Achilles
whatever.
lip
Yeah.
pierce and all that. Yeah, it'll
Mm.
pierce her skin. So yeah,
Well,
so
I mean,
she's
she could just go the whole hog and wear body armor, but
yeah,
you know,
possibly,
I
and just
mean,
be really stiff while she's
yeah,
driving.
yeah, yeah.
uh,
That's terrible. So is
it's
that snake still in the car?
she believes it's still in the car.
Oh
There's
God, I'd
fears that
self-car.
yeah, exactly. She doesn't want the snake to get hurt, so that's why she's still
No, good on her.
being careful, and she's
Yeah.
asking for anyone to try to find it. The next fear is that winter is very close, and because it's a reptile, it's approaching
Oh
what they
God,
call.
no. I know where you're going. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's not quite hibernation, because reptiles don't hibernate, but they brumate or
Yeah, right.
brumation,
Yeah, yeah.
which is very similar. So that snake will most likely, if left alone, will just find a nook and just stay in the car until it's warm enough for it to come back to life. And it doesn't go to sleep during winter. It just breathes slower, um, has less reduces its activity, doesn't take much food. So it might still come out for food every now and then, looking for it, and then go back and hide. So yeah, she's a bit worried about if and when it's going to leave.
Oh yeah, that
Yeah,
sounds. Oh wow.
yeah. So
What?
pretty frightening.
Yeah, it'd be good if you can just keep a pulse on that one, just
Yeah.
just a little bit, just to see where that goes. Because
Mm,
yeah, that's interesting. In not a not in a particularly a great way for her. I mean, but good on
no.
her that she's trying to do everything for the snake. I really love that.
Mm,
I love her passion there that she's trying to do the right thing by nature.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's
Exactly.
yeah, but that's pretty tough. I'll tell you something else that's a bit tough. Now you might not know or realize, but I believe the budget is on tonight.
Oh
Apparently,
yeah.
yes,
Yep.
yes, and
As
we're
we
not
speak.
doing it. Yes, absolutely. And in the past, as you rightly have said, we have done full shows on the budget, but we have got lots of
Mm,
things to talk about tonight. So we're
yeah.
just doing a little bit of a rundown. So just got a few one-liners here. So one of the
Hmm.
one-liners, I believe, is that it's going to be a surplus of about 9.25 billion or something. To be honest with you, that means absolutely fuck all.
Yeah.
Because as Greg Jericho from Australian Institute fame would say, surpluses and deficits mean absolutely nothing. You use them when you need them. They're just a
Mm,
tool. They don't actually tell us anything. So
no.
this you need a balanced budget stuff is total bullshit, especially when you're a government. Because at the end of the
Mm,
day, if you need money, you can get it. And just ask
yeah.
ScoMo Morrison, because they
Mm,
spent 130 billion during the pandemic
yeah.
and put themselves in hardcore deficit because they have to.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
And if they
anyway,
actually
yep.
tax the mining companies properly, like they do in Norway and even Middle Eastern countries, we would have more money coming in. But no,
Yeah,
they don't do that.
it's pretty criminal, isn't it, that we
Mm,
have so much fossil fuels that one, we shouldn't be using, but two, we are. So we should
mm,
at least get something for it. But we just let these companies come in here
yeah,
and take what they like, pay full
yeah,
fist of fuck all,
yeah.
and we don't even get half of it. And then
No,
when there's a crisis around the world for fossil fuels, we actually get
penalised.
penalized, and we live here, and it's our
Yeah,
freaking.
yeah.
It's yeah,
We end up paying
it's
more for gas and other electricity and other utilities when we produce the bloody thing here.
absolutely ridiculous. And we give them
Crazy.
12 billion or 15 billion in subsidies. Just like, fucking, why don't we just
Why?
make them the prime ministers? Because really, they're
Yeah.
running the country. It's just,
Yeah, exactly.
honestly, it's such a. Oh,
Yep.
yeah, that
Prime
one gets
Minister
my-
Santos with
Oh.
Deputy Prime Minister Woodside.
Yeah,
all
absolutely.
those.
Absolutely. David Pocock was talking about this, I think, the other night on Q&A, I believe. And there's, there's not just you and I. There's lots and lots of people out there that are really pissed off with this sort of stuff. So, Google and Apple and all the rest of them, sort of thing. Anyway, energy bill relief. Energy. Every Australian household to receive an energy bill rebate in 24-25. Small businesses will be eligible for a rebate. Exact rebates are not confirmed yet. Last year, they were between 500 and 650 for small businesses. Rent assistance increase. I'm sure it'll be again for fuckle.
Just back on the thing
definitely.
that you said about, was it electricity rebate?
Yes.
That's at the federal level. That's interesting. I don't know what the rebate's going to be, but our Premier here in Queensland just announced a week or two ago that we're all getting $1,000 rebate from 1st of July because, lo and behold, there is an election in October this year. So how does that work, that we've got a state rebate, we're getting a federal rebate as well, so we get free electricity for a year?
Well, there's a federal election next year too.
Yeah, true. This is probably the second last one before the next election, this budget.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're probably right. Look, next election will be really interesting. I have absolutely no doubt that the LNP will maybe claw back a seat or two, but I don't think they're going to be anywhere near it, mainly because I think there'll be more teals coming through, and I think there'll be more green representation as well. So I'm definitely voting green all the way down. So
yeah, I know the Queensland state election, we're pushing again for more green candidates and good quality ones we've got out west. So the Greens are definitely dominating this part of Brisbane and southeast Queensland. We just need to slowly move away to other parts to get more votes. So the Greens are definitely chipping away at all the Labor and Liberal heartlands as you get further away from the city. But it will take a few more election cycles. But yeah, they're definitely on the way of becoming, hopefully, balance of power in this state.
Yeah, well, we need it. I mean, we absolutely need it federally as well. So, but so I mean, if you can get some green candidates on the show, that would be great. We had one a while ago, which was really cool. So, if we can get any leading up to the election, it would be good as well.
Yep.
Tax cuts and youth support. I know that just recently they changed the HEX payments, whatever that's called now.
Yeah.
Apparently, it was up to 7.1 interest rate last year, I believe, because the CPI was so high. So I think they capped the CPI at
to 3.2% instead of 7.1.
Yeah. Which, if you're on a average of around about 29,700 or 30,000, something like that, I think that's like $1,500 off. But really, if you think about it, that's not a lot.
No.
So, but I think the biggest problem there is that ScoMo changed the rules that the kids, i.e. the uni students, have to pay back earlier, and I think that it's just creating a bit of stress between for uni students, because I know when I was paying back my HEX years ago, which was tiny, I didn't have to pay until I earned over a certain amount. I can't remember how much it was, but nowadays I think they've pulled that amount in, so you have to pay it back faster, which is
faster.
I'm like, way to put the uni students under even more hammer. So that's great,
especially when fees are higher now.
Well, absolutely, the fees are ridiculous, and we know that rental prices are totally ridiculous. So one of the lowest cities from. Go for it.
No, you go.
I was just going to say one of the lowest cities in Australia for rent, believe it or not, is Melbourne. Like one of the biggest, lowest
wow.
cities. Yeah. West Australia is super stupidly high, apparently, and Sydney very much so. Apparently, Canberra very much so. But Melbourne still wasn't cheap, but it was less expensive than those ones.
Yeah.
So that's I mean, that's a good thing for Victoria, but still, it's not a good thing for the person who is trying to rent, as it were.
Exactly.
So we got young Australian savings, discretionary spending have been severely impacted, which is what we were just talking about then. Barefoot investor stance. So this is the first time in 20 years that Scott Pape of Barefoot Investor, who you and I have high respect for on the show.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's the first time in 20 years that he hasn't been at the budget lockup, and he has criticised it as political theatre, and he encourages Australians to read his book, which I encourage as well, and just take your own financial empowerment. And I totally agree with that, in that don't expect the government to do stuff for you. There are certain things we do expect, but I think when it comes to Centrelink and all those sort of things, it's not that I don't think that people should get it. And that isn't the case with me at all. It's not the way I think. I think if you're a genuine claimant and you're doing all the things you're trying to do, and you need someone to subsist on, well, get Centrelink. But I mean, that's terrible in itself, that the price that they've made JobKeeper, $46 a day. I mean, just
they can survive on that.
That's just disgraceful, absolutely disgraceful stuff. But anyway, we'll have an economics econobabble at some stage. We won't do that today, so I don't want to go too far down that road. But anyway, Prime Minister's budget claims run down the budget. What we got? Oh yeah, housing support includes $32 billion for new homes, increased funding for urgent care clinics. It's good that the support is there for new homes, but there's still a lot of controversy around whether they're actually going to be built.
Yeah, and how fast they can do it, and where they're going to put it. Yes.
All that stuff, absolutely, because you got your NIMBYs and all that sort of stuff, not in my backyard sort of people, and you have to consult with these groups, etc. It's not easy. Labor's planning to reduce immigration levels below 300,000. They're saying that immigration numbers are linked to the housing crisis. I think it may have something to do with it, but it's definitely not the impetus for it. It's not the
main cause of the housing crisis.
No, John Howard's the main cause of the housing crisis. It's quite easy.
John Howard and Keating.
John Howard, then Keating. But actually, Keating was in before.
That was Keating first. So he introduced the what did you call it?
He introduced the capital gains. No, I don't think he did. No, I think John Howard did the new. Anyway, we'll do some research and make sure we know where we're coming from on that. But between them, you are correct.
Yes.
You are correct. It hasn't helped people, young people, where we are now, and even older people, etc., etc. So,
this is 30 years in the making, this housing crisis.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And people knew it was coming and didn't do bugger all about it, because we had an LNP for 10 years doing nothing. So advocacy groups call for more support Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander people and early childhood educators. Demand for long-term solutions to domestic violence and childcare access highlighted. I know there was, I think it was 950 billion or million. No, is it million? I think it was nearly $1 billion over 5 years for gendered violence.
Yes, I think it was about almost $1 billion from memory. Yeah.
I think that's bugger all, considering we're paying $364 billion to, protect ourselves, to blow something up if we need to. It's just ridiculous. Seriously, it's just good to know what we care about. Greens coalition criticised budget for different reasons. Greens focused on the lack of support for inflation-impacted individuals. Angus Taylor, I won't even bother talking about because he's such a numbnut. Treasure Jim Chums emphasises spending restraint and cost of living support in the budget, blah, 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 blah. So, so that's your little rundown there.
Yeah. We'll put more links in the show notes there. Obviously, as the shakedown happens after the budget, there'll be analysis left, right, and centre. We'll put that in the show notes so you're totally informed.
Well, talking about shakedown.
11,780 votes to win the election. No, fellas, I need 11,000 votes.
Losers only. It's Trump Watch. China.
It is Trump Watch, and he is getting closer and closer to going to jail.
Yes.
But
Please, I'm crossing everything. Even things that I can't cross, I'm crossing.
But the reason that he's getting closer is because he keeps can't find the word. He keeps going past his gag order. So,
okay, yeah. What's that called?
I can't remember. I really can't. My brain and words won't work
Contempt of
together.
court.
Yeah, well, that's what's happening. Yes, absolutely. Yep. So he's gone against his gag, I think 11 times now with truth social rubbish and all the rest of it. So he's up for 11K at the moment in fines. But he realizes Judge Merchan, who is the judge of the hush money porn star case, he realizes there's no point fining him anymore because he's got money, but and that's the reason there's no point fining him because he'll be, those pissy little fines you can pay.
Yeah,
I mean, if you fined him 20 million each, I'm sure he would shut the hell up, but you can't do stuff like that, unfortunately. So, but anyway, so where we are at the moment, so there's only one, and unfortunately, as we know, there's shitloads of cases. There's the classified documents case. There's a Georgia fake electors case. There's an Arizona fake electors case now on. There's another case somewhere that I can't remember. And there's so many indictments, it's just hard to catch up. But unfortunately, we are probably only going to get one case this year, and this is it. Because the classified documents case has been postponed indefinitely because the judge is a complete and utter Trump stooge. And how she can get away with doing this, I'll never know. I don't know how legally she's allowed to get away with it. But saying that, I don't know how the Supreme Court Justice of America get away with being able to accept holidays from Nazi sympathizer billionaires and have a wife that fully endorses Trump and fully tweets on the days of insurrection. And this guy is still a justice in the Supreme Court. And he's meant to be objective, and so I don't get it. I don't understand. So, So anyway, this is the only case we're going to get. And so, absolutely. So, I mean, if he loses, which I assume he will, i.e. the election, I absolutely believe that Orange Head will lose. And when he does, he'll have nowhere to go, and people will be going for him on all these cases. They won't be mucking about anymore, I don't think. But yeah, you heard it. I am.
Yep, you've called it.
I have called it, and I'm happy to eat my words, but I've called it. I have faith.
You're the Anthony Green of the American elections.
I have faith in the Americans. I just do.
I'm hoping so too. Please.
I just don't think they're as dumb as people give them no credit for. Anyway, so Michael Cohen has been on the stand. Now, if people don't know, Michael Cohen was Orange Head's fixer at the time. He was the guy that paid $130,000 to Stormy Daniels, the porn star, that Orange Head likes to say he didn't have sex with. And I'm sure that Stormy would be very happy to say she didn't. So it's quite obvious she did, because there's no way that she said that she would say she did if she didn't have to.
Exactly.
So that's what she was saying the other day. She was saying, do you think I'd be telling people I had sex with this guy if I actually didn't? So, yeah. apparently there's been quite a lot of humour in the court, and the judge has been a bit off at times because.
Has he still been sleeping in the court?
Oh yeah, sleeping and farting, sleeping.
Nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice. Quality defendant.
Quality. And talking about, I'll fly through this little bit here. What I did want to mention is that he's looking at vice presidents at the moment, and obviously they're all nutbags. And one of the nutbags is a person who used to be a governor somewhere, and her name's Kristi Noem. Mm-hmm. And she has written a book called No Going Back. Okay. And in this book, it presents where she shot her 14-month-old puppy in the head because apparently it wasn't a good hunting dog. And apparently it bit people, et cetera, et cetera. And the way that she did it is she took it into a gravel pit and then she shot it into the head. The only reason we know this is because she put it in the book herself. And she's very proud, very, very proud of doing so. And on the same day, I think it was on the same day, she shot a goat as well.
Jeez. Wow.
And she was talking to someone in interview, and she was trying to sort of backpedal and say, look, it's not that bad. You know, only a few weeks ago we had to shoot 3 horses. So that was the get out of jail free card. Nothing
to see here. This happens all the time.
Absolutely. So so what I want to do just on tonight's show, I'm just going to showcase. There's a new movie coming out, and I won't spoil it. I'll give you the trailer in a second, but I'll just fly through this. So Michael Cohen's given his testimony at the moment, and he said that he referred to the prosecutor as Susan Hoffinger's ma'am more than 100 times, reinvented a persona that may impact the trial's outcome significantly. So apparently he hasn't been as in the past. He was very much a sort of he's a fixer, and very much like a sort of a New York mob sort of fixer. But I think going to jail for 3 years or whatever, exactly for the reason of what Orangehead's been doing himself, I think maybe he sort of saw the error of his ways, as it were. So crucial evidence presented described January 2017 meeting with Trump, claimed Trump endorsed a plan to reimburse Cohen for paying off Stormy Daniels. Prosecutors must rely on Cohen's account as Trump and Weisselberg may not testify. Well, there is no way on God's earth that Trump is going to testify. There's no way that they'll let him testify. No. Because if he does, he's going down the toilet in about 2 seconds. Yeah. So that would be pretty ridiculous. But it'd be fantastic if he did.
Yeah, it'd be funny to watch if they had cameras allowed.
Yeah, I know. That's the whole thing. They don't. Everyone's gutted about that. But anyway. So prosecutors' reliance on Cohen. He displayed modesty and acknowledged his past, aiming to appear credible. His testimony could be pivotal in proving Trump's involvement. Daniels aligning with prosecutors' theory of election interference. She recounted Trump's instruction he did just to get past the election regarding the payoff to Daniels, aligning with prosecutors' theory of election interference. So the whole thing about this case is if he can prove some way, somehow, that the things that he did, even though he did them for Melania and not for political causes, he can slime his way out of it.
Right.
And we know how slimy this dude is. So, we just have to watch this space on this one. Yeah. But anyway, that's enough of this. And I think we should watch this cracker of a movie. It only goes for 2 minutes. It's called Kristi Noem, We Shot a Zoo.
Now available to own on video and DVD.
This place is perfect. Why didn't you mention it earlier?
It has complications to it, Mr. Meat.
What's so complicated?
It's a zoo. You're going to have to shoot a lot of goddamn animals to make this place livable.
I think I know just the right person.
They better be a stone cold killer. These motherfucking lions don't go down easily.
The property is being overrun by these animals, and Kristi's putting every single one of them into the gravel pit the second we close this deal.
You're going to shoot them?
Well, yeah.
These animals need somebody who can make some difficult decisions. Your mom's already signed the documents and started culling the herd.
I just don't understand how you can call this place home.
You know what? Like this. It's our home, so fuck you and these stupid animals. Once Christy gets the bloodlust, there's nothing that can stop her. Oh my God, now this is a good feeling. Your mom and I want you to come kill animals with us.
That's what you want. It's not what I want.
She already killed that dumbass bear and a bunch of stupid buffalo. And a lion. And 47 other species, 7 of which are endangered. She's got to leave something for our kid to kill. Sometimes all you need is to hurt something.
Hurt something.
Just so you can watch it die.
Oh dear.
Something great will come of it.
That's the one she shot. Yeah,
Oh,
she
you
shot
serious? Oh my
that.
God.
I'm dead set serious.
Oh my God. How can she be running? I'm assuming has she been disendorsed yet?
Oh yeah, every
Okay.
single GOP doesn't want to go near her.
Okay. Thank goodness for that.
And it's hilarious because even on Fox News they're ripping her apart. So it's absolutely
how quickly
hilarious.
they turn.
But you know, Orangehead loves it because he looks exactly like Lara Trump. So
yeah, true. Oh my God. So it's funny how they've got morals and values when they kill an animal, the GOP, but they turn a blind eye to him groping women, him hush money stuff, and overinflating property prices. They're happy to let that go, but as soon as you kill animals, that's a no-no. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, no, it's nuts. It is crazy. I tell you one thing, it gets your blood boiling.
It sure does.
When you give blood, you're more than just a blood donor. You're the lifeblood of Australia. Search Give Blood and book your donation with Australian Red Cross Lifeblood today. Give life. Give blood.
Hey, this is Hannah Melville Ray from the Australia Institute. I'm listening to the new Blurt with Wencee and the Kegsta, and you should be too. It's on Tuesday nights, live from around 8 p.m.
Okay, science. It's been a big weekend of science. For anyone who hasn't stepped outside or looked at the news this weekend, the whole world has been talking about the phenomenon, which is the aurora australis or borealis. So it depends on, you mentioned it earlier, depends on what side of the world you're on. In the southern hemisphere, it says aurora australis, northern hemisphere, aurora borealis. So these are the northern lights or the southern lights.
And what does borealis actually mean? Do you know?
Northern, I think, and australis is southern.
Oh, right.
Because there's
Latin
a constellation. Yeah, it must be Latin, because there's a constellation called Borealis in the northern hemisphere. So yeah, that's my assumption on Borealis. Yeah, it's a good question. So what is an aurora? An aurora is one of these. I'm just going to share a website that has a lot of information. Will be in the show notes. So
nice.
Let me just share this. So this is from our ABC News here in Australia. So what you're seeing there at the moment is an aurora happening. Looks like southern hemisphere because those stars don't look like it's northern hemisphere. Because I'm not seeing the Big Dipper and the Little Dipper. So you can see that glowing curtain of lights. It is, isn't it?
Wow! Oh my God! Did you get to see it yourself?
No, unfortunately, they're pretty rare up here, although we'll cover that in a second. But the closer to the poles, north or southern poles, the more likely you'll see this on any given day. But what happened recently was that, here's another image from Tasmania, I think this one was, yep, Bruny Island. So the sun goes through a cycle of maximum and minimum solar activity, which is where you get lots of sunspots on the surface. So they're the little black dots that, if you ever seen photos of the sun, there'll be little black dots, and magnetic activity. So it goes through a 20-year cycle, and we're currently at around the maximum. So 20 years ago would have been the last maximum, 10 years ago would have been its minimum. Even at the minimum cycle, because it goes up and down like a sine wave, even at the minimum, you still see aurora. But this one was quite intense because there was a coronal mass ejection, CME, that came out of the sun. So here right now on the screen, for those listening on the podcast.
Oh, that's to do with the crown when you were talking about the moon, etc., sort of thing?
Yeah, the solar eclipse. So for those who saw the event or listened to the show, watched the show a few weeks ago, when the solar eclipse crossed the Mexico, USA, and Canada, when the moon blocks the sun during a solar eclipse, you see this big radial flare that's coming out of the sun, and that's the corona, which is the really, really hot part of the sun.
Yeah.
So it's not the surface.
Yeah.
So every now and then, because of the magnetic, it gets quite active. The magnetic fields on the sun will spew out massive amounts of plasma and from the sun, from the surface and interior of the sun. So
and that's what this is.
That's what this was. What happened
Oh,
over the
wow.
weekend. So the speed of light travels so fast that a solar flare, which is just the light that you see, travels takes 8.5 minutes to get from the sun to Earth. But the coronal mass ejections, because that's physical particles that are ejected from the sun, they take slower. So they're a lot more predictable. You can predict how long it's going to take to reach the Earth. So several days ago, or a week or so ago, they saw this CME eject from the sun, and they predicted, oh, this is going to hit Earth around the 10th, 11th, and 12th of May. So as this image shows, for those listening, you got the sun on the left, the solar wind or the CME is coming from the sun, heading towards the Earth. Earth has a magnetic field around it, which helps us, protects us from all sorts of particles that are in the universe, so we don't get fried, like UV, things like that. So even though UV gets through, hence our tans that we can get, if we were out in space, we'd be fried. Or cancer. That's right. Yeah, so the Earth's atmosphere is there to protect us. When you get these big CMEs, it's so intense that it collects around the poles, like you can see in the image here, and that's when you get the
image.
Yeah, and that's when you get your colourful auroras, or your aurora borealis for the north, or australis for the south. And because it's that physical particles that are hitting the atmosphere that then lights up. And if you actually view it at this time when it's been pretty big, people have actually seen the colors. Normally or ordinarily, you don't see the colors when it's not as intense, but because it has been massive, a lot of people are seeing color. If you use cameras and you take timed shots, you will see color, because phone cameras are a lot more sensitive to all of this. So that's how auroras occur. So that's why this is one of the most intense ones. They've predicted since maybe the 1930s was the last really big one like this. So here's some more photos. So this one here that's on the screen now was taken from the Keppel Coast in Queensland.
Wow.
So I think Keppel is close to Rockhampton.
Yeah,
I'm thinking Keppel
I think
Island.
you're all right. Yeah, Great Capital
So
Island. I think it is up that way.
yeah, so it's pretty rare. So I think the last time we saw one in Queensland, especially this far north, was in the 50s. So we, unfortunately, over the weekend here in Brisbane, we got rained out, so I had no chance of seeing it anywhere.
Seeing anything. Yeah.
Unless I travelled hours and hours west or south,
Yeah.
maybe even into New South Wales.
Yeah.
This one I'd love.
Quite a few people down here were driving out to Werribee or out to Mornington Peninsula.
Yeah.
To get a bit of a look.
Yes, as soon as you get out of this city, you need a darker sky to see with your naked eye, because even though they're probably quite bright, you need to be away from the city lights.
Is that? Oh, right.
Yeah, so this image that's on now is just a time lapse. So you can see it's like a curtain of light moving across the sky.
That's just crazy. So the northern lights that are up in Alaska and the Yukon, etc.
Yeah.
And they're there like sort of all the time. What are they? That can't be the same thing. That's
the same thing. Exact same thing. So caused by the same so solar flares or the coronal mass ejection. If it's just a solar flare, it's not as intense because it's only a small amount of particles that are coming towards Earth. Whereas the CMEs, it's literally dozens or hundreds of Earth's mass that's coming towards us.
Wow.
So yeah, it's quite intense.
Wow.
Yeah. So
and is there any sort of detrimental effects that happen after the Australis or the Borealis?
Not really. Satellites will be the most affected because they're closest to all that radiation that's coming. So what a lot of operators of satellites, what they'll do, because they can predict when it's going to hit, they'll either turn systems off or move the satellite in a direction that if it did get hit, it won't affect whatever sensors or antennas might be pointing towards the sun's direction. So they've got time to move things around. Sometimes it can cause outages to telecommunications, mobile reception, satellite phones, radio, things like that, television, anything that streams across the atmosphere will be affected. So I'm still scrolling through for those listening on this website with all the different images and photos that were taken across the
Wencee
world.
will do his best to get all of the slides, etc., in a way that you can watch.
Oh, this is just a website, so you can just come to the
cool.
ABC website.
Fantastic.
And yeah,
Excellent.
you'll
and
scroll
that'll
through
be the show notes. So that's
exactly.
Excellent. Yeah, I look forward
So-
to reading these show notes. My God,
Yeah.
it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, so it's quite
Wow.
fascinating. This is one of the few things astronomical that I've never seen in my life, so it's definitely on my bucket list.
Yeah,
I've
it's
seen
pretty
lunar
awesome.
eclipses, I've seen solar eclipses, I've seen comets, all the planets except for Pluto. There's still debate whether Pluto is a planet or whether it's a minor planet. Yeah, I've seen just about everything. I've seen planets, Venus and Mercury, cross the surface of the sun, which is pretty rare and quite exciting. What else have I seen? I've seen all sorts of stuff astronomical.
Yeah, that's why we have you talking about this stuff.
I love all this stuff. It's so much fun.
I know your passion and enthusiasm come through when you talk about it. That's why it's so awesome. It's so cool. I think with that, because it has been so cool, we will go straight to this.
Oh, hang on a sec. Let's get you back on the frame, in the frame. Sorry, do that again.
There, big fella. That's the wrong. And now it's time for When Nature Calls with Wencee and the Kegsta on the new. Oh, there, big fella. That's the wrong nature calling. Oh, right. Here is our new segment, Nature Calls. It's all about the wonderful world of Wonderful world. Sorry, Wencee.
So, Nature Calls this week, it's mainly going to be about Wencee's trip on the Ghan, because that's going to be really interesting to listen to. But I thought I would just flag something that I was reading this week, which is concerns over cows getting bird flu in America.
Ooh.
So scientists worry that the bird flu become endemic in cattle, facilitating its own mutation and spreading to humans. So this isn't great news.
No, a bit concerning.
Yeah, it is a bit concerning. Virus can transfer between cows and birds, potentially spreading across large regions. Infected cows typically don't show severe symptoms, making detection difficult, which is not great. Cows can host multiple flu viruses, increasing mutation risk. So all of this is not good. The transmission and risk, the genomic studies indicate viruses jump from wild birds to cattle late in 2023. It may infect various species, raising concerns about human transmission. Airborne transmission suspected, complicating containment efforts. Yeah, so it's not great. Culling cattle is not viable due to their economic value.
True.
Testing of the cows before transportation is now required by the USDA. This is only happening in America at the moment.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know if their animal and sort of strategies to contain and protect these sort of things are as stringent as, say, a country like Australia and New Zealand. So the fact that it got in there in the first place,
I can imagine if it gets really bad, we'll probably ban products from cows from America, just like we did with the UK. What was it? Was it foot and mouth disease?
Yeah, it was. It was foot and mouth years ago. In fact,
it was the other one, the brain one. There was another one as well.
I can't remember what it was, but I do remember years ago when I went to England, and they did have a situation whereby they had to boil their eggs for 20 minutes because there was a problem with I think chickens with foot and mouth or whatever it was. But when I got there in 2000, that problem had stopped 10 years before,
right? Okay.
Or 5 years before, but no one had told my nana.
Yeah, so she kept doing it.
so one morning she said to me, "Would you like a boiled egg?" And I went, "Yeah, it'd be lovely, thanks, Nan." And
5
she went,
hours later.
That's exactly right. She said to me, "Okay, it'll be ready." It was like 9:30, and she said, "I'll be ready by 10." I went, "Okay, what? What?" And
did it come
said,
out all black inside?
She said, "We have to boil them for 20 minutes because the foot." I said, "No, you don't. You haven't had to do that for 5 to 10 years. Just so you know, you don't need to do that anymore." So I cooked my own eggs. Needless to say.
Man.
Yes, I know. But she was, but apart from that, she was a very good cook. She was 80 plus, so she did a pretty good job. But anyway, that's another story.
Anyway.
But it was funny. And very confusing. But anyway. Human health implications. A dairy worker in Texas was confirmed infected but had mild symptoms. Anecdotal reports suggest more human cases than officially reported, which is interesting, sort of not in a way. People like RFK Jr. would be more than happy to try to put some of this out there. Public health, because I don't know if you know, but he is one of the people that's meant to be running for president in America for the election. But he is a part of the Kennedy family. But most of the Kennedy family disown him. He's one of those sort of children of the family.
The uncle that just no one wants to talk to.
That's exactly right. Yeah. He's a really weird cat because he's got some really good progressive ideas, like really good progressive green ideas and all these sort of things. but he is a staunch anti-vaccine nutbag. And he blames like just normal, but he's been not pandemic, way before the pandemic.
Way before that.
Yeah, he
there
was
you go.
staunch on polio, everything, just
Wow.
vaccines in general. Yeah, he's a little bit of a nutbag that way. But anyway, if you ever see a picture of the guy, he's ripped to shreds because he's on steroids, or as he likes to say, testosterone enhancers.
So he's anti-vaccine, but he's happy to take steroids.
Correct.
That's
100% correct.
yeah, quite.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does. Makes a heap of sense. Absolutely. No. I said he was a nutbag. Anyway, public health efforts needed to test farm workers and families to detect transmission, and concerns about undetected spread leading to future pandemic potential.
Wow.
So I know you've got much better news than that. But I thought it was worth bringing to our listeners and viewers' attention, just
and something to keep an eye on
to
see if it spreads. And
we will definitely keep an eye on it here because it's not good. It's not good at all.
No,
so
it's two stories we need to keep track on: the red belly snake and this flu thing in cattle.
Yeah. Because as we know, bird flu was not great a few years ago. So no, not at all. But now we got to the good stuff.
Yep, onto happier stuff. In Nature Calls.
Yes.
This is a mixture. This segment's a mixture of Nature Calls, flora and fauna, but more so my holiday, because it was just an awesome experience. So I'm going to get going straight away. Yeah, I'm going to get going straight away with the slideshow. So for those listening, I am in front of a photo that says "Welcome aboard the Ghan train." It's a big placard or big poster thing that people take photos in front of. So
you look very excited. You look very excited.
I know. Pointing at the welcome aboard and pointing at the Ghan.
Kid in a lolly shop.
Yep, that was bloody fantastic. Well worth the money, even though it's very expensive. It is well worth the money.
Expensive. It's very expensive.
The staff, highly commendable. I gave great feedback to staff because they were, just so attentive to detail, looked after everyone. The Ghan train is predominantly, most of the passengers are probably over 60. There were quite a few in the 80s. I think the oldest was probably about 86 that I know of. My mother was 82, so I traveled with my mother and my sister, who I joined them from Brisbane, and we traveled together to Darwin. So the Ghan is a train, a scenic train that travels from Darwin to Adelaide, and then does the return trip Adelaide to Darwin. My trip was 3 nights, 4 days. If you go back when you come up the other way, it's 2 nights, 3 days. So it's a week turnaround. So, and it just does that in a endless loop. So this slide shows my tiny little single person cabin. Enough room there for a little chair, a little dining table, a little table to put stuff on, and another seat on the opposite. Not much stuff, and a very small little vanity sink to wash your hands, face, brush teeth. There's a little mirror there as well. So very, very cramped. And
I hope it doesn't double as the toilet.
No. There is a sliding door that you can lock, but not close, but not lock with a key. So there was a lot of trust that no one came into your room and steal stuff. This slide here is the bed laid out. So every night, once you're out and about, in the dining room, eating, or in the lounge room, mingling, staff will just go into every person's room and just make the bed. So you didn't have to do anything. They just did it for you. And in the morning, while you're having breakfast, they'll put that away.
It looks really short, but I'm sure if people were a bit taller, surely there must be a cabin that they can be able to stretch their legs out. Either that or they just can't go on the Ghan.
I comfortably laid down in this bed, and I'm only 5'8", I think.
Yeah.
So I think you could probably fit someone 6'2" at most.
Okay. All right.
Anyone
Okay.
taller, you'd be cramped.
Yeah, big time.
And that's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
in the
yeah.
bed. There's almost no room. Once you close the door, there's very little gap between the door and the bed.
Yeah,
So
it doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the double, the twin room where my mum and my sister were sleeping. So they get
Right.
a bench to sit on during the day and then a bunk bed. So my sister went upstairs to sleep on the top bunk, my mum at the bottom, obviously. And just to the left of this door, just past the door, is the tiny, tiny, tiny ensuite. So it's barely got a toilet, showers nearly over the toilet with a curtain that you run around. So apparently, I never had a shower in there, but as soon as you turn the water on, the curtain just starts sticking to your body, which I really, really, really hate.
Yes, I don't like that either.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, are you claustrophobic at any time when you're on this trip?
I was later down the trip, but not on the train.
Not on the
But
train.
I'll explain later.
Okay, no worries.
Here's more views of the train. On the left is one of the other carriages. These are the twin room carriages. And on the right is the dining room looking outside at sunrise. So I got myself ready for breakfast, waiting for mum and my sister, and just took a picture looking outside. So most of the countryside that you see is basically grasses and desert-like. So like my show Avatar says, it was the green red center. So there'd been lots of rain in the red center over the last 5-6 weeks ago. So instead
Right.
of being the traditional red center, there was a lot of greenery in the red
Yeah.
center. So
Yeah,
a lot of the tourist operators are now calling it the green red center.
Red center. Nice.
Yeah. That's me, my mother, and my sister
Relaxing
looking
in
back
the
towards.
lounge.
Yep, first morning. I'm going to stop the slideshow for a moment because I want to show you my carriage. This is pretty awesome. So I took a photo or video of the carriage, and the corridor zigzags like a snake. So I'm just going to press play. It only goes for about
So when you
20,
say
30
your
seconds.
carriage, were you in a different carriage to your mum and your sister?
Yeah, so one carriage, the one carriage that I was in was all singles, and
I
the
see.
other 3 carriages were all doubles or twins. So you can see the doors on the left and right. They just are they Venetian doors? I forget what they're called.
Yeah.
They just
Do you think the idea of that is to try to in a way make an illusion of space by not just being a sort of a tunnel, like a straight tunnel, by doing that sort of snaky shape?
Which is hard to do when you've had a few drinks and the train's moving and you're trying to make your way back to your room.
I'm sure it is. I have
which happened
absolutely
one
no
night.
idea. Yeah. Are the drinks included in the price?
Everything, food, drinks. You don't have to worry about anything on the whole
Oh,
trip.
right. Oh, that's
Yeah.
good. So
It's an open bar. Have as much
wow.
coffee, soft drink, alcohol,
all that sort of stuff.
Yep, chips. I don't know if they had peanuts. Not that they advertised it, but
I'm not a big
we
peanut
discovered someone had chips and went, oh, they've got chips. Right, let's order some chips. So this is the dining room. We're ready for lunch. You can see the table set on the left, all very nice and formal. And then you've got
very
your
formal.
cutlery on the right-hand side. The Queen Adelaide restaurant is what all the restaurants are called, and there's many carriages. So the trip we were on, there were 31 carriages, and it spanned 735 meters, I think it was, to the whole train, including the 2 locomotives at the front.
Nearly 3/4 of a kilometre of train.
Yes, and they've had them as many.
Crap.
They've had as many as 35 carriages. So those 4 extra carriages would probably take it closer to 900 meters, I reckon.
Jesus,
so nearly a
that's
kilometre
long.
long.
Yeah, it's a long train.
Bloody long. Yeah. So every meal you got a menu that you flipped around, and you had the menu on one side, and on the other side it'll highlight something native. One of them was saltbush. There were other animals and other fruit and veggies and stuff like that were all native. Should have prepared for that one. But so I had the crocodile dumplings on the left, tried that. They were okay. don't know if I'd have it again, but yeah, it was edible. It was nice, decent. They had braised beef. This was their first lunch. We had honey macadamia parfait and chocolate molten lava cake.
I bet you enjoyed those.
Oh yeah. Did not go hungry at all. Even though there were long breaks sometimes you'd eat it at midday and then the next time you eat would be 7 o'clock. But because you've eaten so much, you never went hungry. And then we arrive at Nitmiluk Gorge, which is near Catherine. Used to be called Catherine Gorge, but now they're using the Jawoyn people's name for Catherine Gorge, which is Nitmiluk.
Nice.
So normally during the wet season, you might find combination of both salt and freshwater crocs in this gorge.
Is that what we're looking at on the right-hand side?
No crocs this time. They were around weeks ago.
Okay.
They have red buoys floating in the river,
right?
Because apparently the crocs are curious animals and they will attack it to see if it's food. And so the rangers are often looking at the buoys to see if it's been bitten, and if they know it's been bitten, they know there's a croc nearby, so they check them every day. So I thought that was quite interesting.
Very much so.
Very, very pretty, nice warm day. We also looked at some rock art at the end of that gorge. So this gorge, there's 12 or 13 gorges, so they're all split. We couldn't go past gorge 1 because there's rocks. If there's high tide and lots of rain, then you could take a boat. But one of the other tours was you get off at one jetty at the end of gorge 1, and then you do a half-kilometre walk or whatever it was to the next jetty, and then you get onto another boat, and then that takes you further inland away from where we were. So we didn't take that because my 82-year-old mother wouldn't be able to do the long walks. But there's lots of tour options. So there's rock art. I'll have all this in the show notes. There's me, my mother, and my sister looking down the gorge.
Nice. That's amazing. So how close does the train get to the gorge? I mean, like, how do you get there, type thing?
This is a bus.
Oh, right.
So we got off the Catherine train station.
Yeah.
We all hop on coaches. Depends on the tour that you've signed up for. You get told, okay, you're on bus 2, you're on bus 6, bus 4, whatever, and everyone goes to their respective buses, and then they take you to whatever tour you're doing. So it's very well organised.
Is that all part of it?
Yes.
Oh, that's part of it. All right.
Yeah, that's all part of the thing. So when you book the tickets, you nominate what tours you want to do.
Right.
There's a whole bunch of free ones that you can choose from at each stop,
right.
or paid ones like the next slide.
Yes.
When we got to Alice Springs, we decided to do almost like a once in a lifetime off train experience, as they call it, where we got onto this little Cessna Caravan plane, which only holds about 12 people. 8 of us in one plane. There was another plane with 8, so there's 16 in total of us in this group, where we went up, left Alice Springs. On the left there, you can see Alice Springs Airport from the air. On the right is Pine Gap. So we're heading towards Uluru and on this trip. And apparently, if you go within, I can't remember the distance, within Pine Gap, if you breach that perimeter as a pilot, you get cop a $25,000 fine, and you're on a watch list for 10 years from the government.
Holy shit. Well, I'll tell you something else about Pine Gap as well. One, they did a fantastic ABC show on it about 5 years ago, I think. Stephen Curry was in it. And 2, Irrational Fear did a podcast on it a little while ago, I think it was, or it might have been The Imperfects, I can't remember, where they had 2 guys that actually, one of them was a friendly Geordies, and another guy who I think was one of the guys out of the Chaser, one of the young guys out of the Chaser. they got into Pine Gap
Oh,
on
geez.
absolutely. So so if I can find that, I will put it in the show notes. It's
Yeah,
well
that'd be
worth
good.
listening to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially since you that's interesting with the pilot.
Mm.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. So here we are on the way to Uluru, the left-hand side, halfway there.
Oh wow, what a
Beautiful,
photo.
beautiful landscape. But as you can see in the left photo, it's just green.
Yeah.
Because there's just lots of shrubs and grasses all growing because of the heavy
The rain.
rainfall.
Yeah.
On the
Yeah.
right-hand side, you can see Uluru.
It's nuts.
I'm not exactly sure because we couldn't hear the pilot. He wouldn't talk, he doesn't talk. And you don't get headphones or anything. But we got up to maximum of 9 or 10,000 feet. But at this stage, when we get close to Uluru and Karajuta, we're a lot lower. So it definitely comes down for that. So I'm guessing we might be 3,000 or 4,000 feet up.
Yeah.
Considering Uluru is only 300 meters tall,
How
and we're
did
pretty
you?
close.
Yeah, how were you in the plane? I don't know if I'd be that great in one of those.
It was fine. Up until like when you take off, you feel the bumps a little bit more than a bigger plane,
Yeah.
like a jet
Yeah.
plane. This is a propeller
Prop plane.
plane,
Yeah, I'm not a
a
big prop
single prop
plane
at the
fan.
front.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I
it's
saw
a
it.
bit scary, but it was
Yeah.
fine. So left is Uluru from the air. On the right, you can see the Olgas or the marbles. Traditional name is Karajuta.
Oh, nice.
When we got close to the Olgas, as we're flying around, there was quite a bit of turbulence because of the currents. The air currents were swirling around it.
Oh, wow.
So then that was the most we felt of turbulence. Nothing scary though, but enough to go. And you feel your tummy going up and down. We did have to touch down at Uluru Airport to refuel, and I took a photo of the red earth at my feet. It was really, really red. So that
Yes,
was
you're
quite
not wrong.
fascinating.
It is.
And now
When
we're
you
heading
see in the middle of Australia, it's just nuts. The
Yeah.
landscape is crazy.
It is. The photo
What
on the
is
left is
that? Yeah.
Uluru on the left.
Yeah.
That's as we're taking off from from Ayers Rock or Uluru Airport. That was my last shot that I took.
Right.
Before we flew back to Alice Springs. The photo on the right is Kings Canyon.
I've never even heard of that.
Oh, you haven't? So 30 years ago, I did a tour in this area. I walked along Kings Canyon,
Wow.
and you see that whole valley. You walk along the ridge up there. It's quite a decent walk.
Yeah, it
So
looks
not
like
for
a
the
decent walk.
faint-hearted.
No.
So now I've walked it and I've seen it from the air. So I'm pretty happy about that. That night, we all had dinner under the stars at the Alice Springs Telegraph Station. Photo on the left is all the tables. Can't remember how many tables, but I think I worked out there's about 240, 250 people on the Ghan.
Nice.
And we had live entertainment, playing modern songs, contemporary songs,
Now
old songs.
the Ghan isn't just people, is it? It's doing goods as well. That's correct, isn't it?
I'm not sure.
It is a goods train, isn't it? I didn't think it was just a people train.
Not that I know of.
Wow.
Didn't hear
So it
anything.
is
Didn't
just
hear
a
anything
people
about
train.
that. Think so.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So that was a good night. Food was average that night. It came out a bit cold, but understandable. We're out in the cold, out under the stars.
Yeah.
They paused after we'd had mains. They paused the music, turned off all the lights, and a local Indigenous fella started talking about the stars and how the local people identified the stars. One of them was an emu and things like that, and what they all signified. And he had a laser pointer that was pointing at all the stars, like the Southern Cross and the pointers. And that blue smudge in the photo is his laser. So I managed to take a photo of that. So it's just handheld. So it was a good night. So I was going, yep, I know that. I know exactly what he's talking about. I know all the constellations and stars he talked about. So that was fascinating. Next day, our final real day on the train, we stopped off at Cooper Pedy. With all those little mounds on the left is where all the miners start digging. So they have, like, when they stake a claim, which can be stolen, by the way, so you pay $100 for 6 months or whatever. If you're not actively mining for opal in your plot, someone can easily come in and just take your plot and just take out the pins and then claim it as their own.
What, legally?
It's sort of like an unwritten law that you've got to protect yourself. Like, you just got to be physically there, otherwise, yeah, people steal it.
I know it's a hard job. It's a really hard job, opal mining. That's a tough way to live.
They're finding less and less opals. A lot of less people finding the millions of dollars like they used to in the old days. Yeah. So when you're asking about claustrophobic, this is when I felt claustrophobic.
Yeah.
So on one of the tours, we went underground, and they had like a house built that you could live in. And she then said, right, when you turn off the lights at night, this is what you experience. And she turned off the lights, all the doors were closed, and it was pitch black. You could not see anything in front of your eyes. And that's when I started feeling a little bit claustrophobic. I was thinking, all right, are you going to turn on the light anytime soon? Please, 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 please. And she did. So, and she did give the option for some people, for anyone who wanted to leave, because she was about to do that. So I think 2 or 3 people left the room. So I feel that they may have been worse than me, but yeah. On my previous trip to Cooper Pedy nearly 30 years ago, I did stay in an underground hostel, similar to the one that was on the right. I can't remember. It was such a long time ago. It's half a lifetime ago.
Yeah, tell me about it. Well, we went to Turkey Caves years ago, about 15 years ago, and I remember when we went down there, it was nuts. You're going down there and just going, this is getting smaller, and I'm seeing less and less, and I've got a long way to go back. It was a bit, I'm not that great in those situations. So, wow.
So Serbian church built underground. So 70% of residents in Cooper Pedy live underground because it's just too hot.
Yeah,
you can reach up to 45 degrees in summer.
It's nuts, though. They've built a church. With all of that detail underground.
Wow. It's amazing. It was very fascinating.
Built? What year was that built?
I did take the pamphlet and I can't remember. Would be at least 40 or 50 years old now. Not many people go to church. I think they only have a handful of services a year now. It's mostly a tourist attraction now because there's just not many residents. And it's a Serbian church. And there must have been a big Serbian population at one point to justify this.
Absolutely. Because that's a big expenditure and a big bill and all the rest of it. So
it sure is. Then we had lunch after the church, and our buses, as you can see on the left-hand side, goes down a massive ramp. And this is an old, no longer used opal mine. And we walked down probably 20, 30 meters underground, down these long corridors, and we all had lunch. So on the right hand side you can see a massive long table. That was our coach, all the passengers on that coach having a nice little lunch. Again, free flowing alcohols, whatever you wanted to drink was there. They just come and pour it. Then we moved on to Breakaway, which is just quite pleasant, nice little scenic location. When we got off the bus, they had champagne and wine serving ready there for passengers. So my mum and I partook on some champagne, and on the right you can see a series of photos there. And the last photo is Manguri, which is where you get off and to go to Cooper Pedy, and then when you come back, that was our last stop for the day before we took off to Adelaide, arriving Adelaide next day. So you can see on the right hand side the train isn't the traditional red locomotive engines. They're in maintenance, so they had just boring old engines.
Yellow ones.
But would have been nice if they had the red ones because that's the iconic
Yes,
engines.
it is. Yes, it is. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So that was my trip, and did see a
Cool.
couple of koalas, not koalas, kangaroos jumping while we're eating breakfast, I think it was, or lunch. And my mum got to see that as well, because I was facing the direction the train was going, so I could see in the distance and then go, oh, look, there's a train, and I'd be pointing as it went past. So
They would have been big reds, I imagine.
yeah, they would have
massive
to be.
reds.
Yeah, most
Yeah.
of the ones in the center are big reds.
We're pretty blessed. I mean, I've seen so many kangaroos now because at Faraday we used to see squads of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we'd see
Wild ones.
12, 15. Yeah, you'd see them, heaps of them. So, yeah, it's funny because we're having this conversation the other day. People come over, see a kangaroo, and it's like, it's so easy. Just go up to Castlemaine and just drive around a little bit. You'll see one.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really easy. But anyway, that was pretty damn fine, Wencee.
Yes. So
That's
highly
what I
recommended.
call
Anyone who
Nature
wants to
Calls.
go, it's expensive, but is definitely worth it. Do yourself a favor.
Yeah, it's one of those once in a lifetime things, eh?
Yeah, I'm going to see if I can make it twice.
So how many Blurtstars?
5 out of 5. Really enjoyed that one. Yeah,
Wow, that is a good one.
And
there you go.
I'm not normally a tour kind of guy because I like to free wheel when I go on holidays and just go my own way. But yeah, this is definitely worth it.
Yeah, excellent. Fantastic. Awesome stuff. Well, as usual, fantastic show. Really, really cool with the Ghan expedition there. And obviously awesome to have you back this week. So that's very, very cool as well.
Yeah.
So,
missed the show. So thank you.
Yes. No. Absolutely magnificent to have you back. So that's the show, people. And we'll see you next week. It's been a bit of a long one because once he's been giving us a bit of a rundown of the Ghan, and the potty will be probably available by Sunday, Monday. And you'll be able to have all the show notes, slides, anything we've sort of spoken about the show, and it will be at your disposal. And thank you very much for listening or viewing. It's a good night from me.
It's good night, and it's good night for me.